Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Thank you very much for joining our session. I'm Karen Tan, Singaporean currently based out of the US, and I am the chair for this workshop on restaurant, culinary, and sustainable development. Food is such a way of life for us, and many of us here, we simply love good food. In fact, food can rival culture, museums, and scenery in attracting tourists. As culinary experiences and general food movements gain more visibility in recent years, so has sustainable tourism. How can a destination's restaurant and culinary resources attract tourists while simultaneously contribute to sustainable development? What are some of the challenges involved? What are some of the best practices? To answer some of these questions, we have invited a great panel of experts from the Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia to share their thoughts and experiences. During these presentations, we would like to encourage the audience to post questions you may have in the chat room, whether it's for one or all of our speakers. After their presentations, we will try our very best to answer questions from the audience. Our first speaker for this morning is Mr. Bobby Horingan, Vice President of the Hotel and Restaurant Association for the Philippines and General Manager of the Acacia Hotel Manila. Mr. Horingan is an accomplished hotelier with many years of experience working for properties all around the world, such as the Grand Hyatt Hong Kong and Discovery Suites in Ortigas Center, Manila. In 2013, he was the winner of the 17th Mabuhay Gold Award, given by the Association of Human Resources Managers in the hospitality industry. This award recognizes Mr. Horingan as an individual who elevated the standards of the industry globally. Mr. Horingan is also the CEO and lead founder of Horingan Hospitality, a consulting group that manages 14 hotels and resorts all over the Philippines. Mr. Horingan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Karen. It's a pleasure to be here. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the listeners and viewers. And mabuhay to my kababayans, the people from the Philippines. So thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure and honor. And I know this segment is about culinary. And so I'll try to give my 2 cents worth for the next 15-20 minutes. And if you get to learn 1 or 2 things, it would be good. My whole life has been in hotels and restaurants. My father started restaurants in the US, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Thailand, and then in the Philippines. And so I was brought up in the Philippines, did education in Switzerland and higher education in Cornell. And so I have about 30 years of experience in running hotels and resorts. And so I'll give you a little a feel of what I've seen before and now with COVID and what's changing and what's going on. So to talk first about food, maybe I get my first slide. You can show my first slide. You know, everybody listening and wanting to know about culinary, and culinary is always exciting. And I myself, I used to read the books of Auguste Escoffier, who started the brigade system. And then, you know, in the 70s and 80s, it was a person called Paul Bocuse from Lyon, and he was so exciting. And so I was always looking up to Paul Bocuse. And about 15 years ago, me and my friends started a hospitality and culinary school in the Philippines called Enderan Colleges. And we were tied up with Alain Ducasse. And we're tied up with Alain Ducasse, who has the most number of Michelin stars in the world. And so I've seen his food. I've had dinners with him, and I've seen his food, and it's just very different from 30 years ago of Paul Bocuse, where it was heavy creams and heavy butters. And now it's all about sustainable fishing. It's all about light sauces and simplicity. It's all about that. And I've seen it, you know, with Alain Ducasse. Another person I've been following for the last 2 decades is a person called Gordon Ramsay, and he's like the best chef in the world. You know, everybody knows that. I mean, the most number of stars is Alain Ducasse, but Gordon Ramsay has the most number of stars. And I'm like, big deal. I mean, I love his shows, but big deal. He has a number of stars. But you know what? It changed me forever. I said, you know what? I'm gonna try him because my kids who are teenagers go, we gotta try him. So I went to Singapore, you know, in 2019, and we went to Bread Kitchen, and we tried a Gordon Ramsay. And forever, I'll be amazed with what he does. His food is simple, whether it's the beef Wellington or it's a sea bass. His food is simple. It's beautiful. It's just very, very nice. So my advice to all the people who are taking culinary right now: don't be pretentious. Don't be pretentious. Just do food that is very simple. The presentation has to be beautiful. It has to be so nice that when you look at it, you grade it 100 already. And then of course the taste. But through my experience dealing with chefs all around the world, I have foreign chefs, Italian chefs, Swiss chefs, German chefs. I have all types of chefs in all our 5-star hotels here in the Philippines, but I learn a lot from them. But if there's some advice I would give the chefs is just make it simple. And I've seen it with Alain Ducasse. So maybe we put my first slide on. Another person who I really like is a person who passed away, I think last year or 2 years ago. His name is Joel Robuchon. And I'd love to eat his degustation menus wherever I am, whether it's in Macau or Hong Kong or anywhere. But you know, the food has changed in the last 30 years. We do cooking classes in our hotels now, and it's something that people appreciate. We do Thai food, we do Malaysian, we do different types of cuisines with the right chefs, with proper authentic chefs. And so it's becoming big, this cooking classes. Food tours are becoming big. Breweries are starting to pop up here and there. Market experience, I'm doing that in one island right now, down in Davao, in Lubi Plantation, in Dusit, and we're doing a market experience. And it's because the locals are looking for fresh, they're looking for fresh seafood that they want to grill and all that. And so, there's a person of maybe 10 years ago, if you remember, Ferran Adrià, who opened the best restaurant in the world called El Bulli. And this person just does molecular gastronomy, and it's just so unbelievable, his food. But you know, when you talk to him personally and ask him, what food do you really like, you personally, having the best restaurant in the world, he'll tell you, I just want to have fresh seafood that's grilled with olive oil, virgin olive oil, and sea salt. That's simple. So you know, it's great that we have other chefs out there and all these fusion. Sometimes it's fusion is confusion, but people are doing so much fusion. They're trying to get so excited with all of that. But let's all go back to basics. And how did they fish? How did they get the fish? Was it sustainable? How did they get the vegetables and the produce, the fruits and vegetables? Is it organic? And so I'll give you experiences because I just recently completed an island, a resort, and it's completely, I mean, it's just sustainable like you won't believe. And so I have firsthand experience, and I'll tell you about it in a second. And so, so everything is all about sustainability and simplicity. Next slide. I'll talk about the farm. This is, it's been around for the last two, three decades in the Philippines. And I was recently attending the biggest conferences in the world, whether it's in Morocco, Pure, or it's in Bali, Indonesia, or other places, or ILTM in Singapore, and all of them. And and the farm was not really known 25 years ago. It was like Amanpulo in the Philippines. It wasn't really known. But you know what? Now it's just globally known. It's not even globally. It's the good thing is the Filipinos are going to them, going to these places, going to Amanpulo, going to the farm. Before it was just people from around the world, all these wealthy, affluent, rich individuals going there. But the farm, it does it really well. I mean, they do all vegan food, and I really look up to vegan food. And vegan it's so good. I mean, they can do a hamburger looking vegan now. They can do sushi. They can do a bacon strip that's vegan. Anything you want. You want ice cream. You want this. You want anything you want can be vegan now. And one of my owners who's a billionaire from Europe, and he became vegan because he wanted to live to 100 years old, and his doctor said the only way you're going to do that is becoming vegan. And he was on medicines. He was comorbidity, high blood. He had high cholesterol, everything. He was eating KFC, drinking alcohol every night, and so he thought he was going to die. So at 60 years old, he said, I'm going to change my life. And so he went vegan. And vegan, I'm telling you, his cholesterol level is 65 now. It used to be 200 plus. It's 65. His no more BP medicines. Nothing anymore because he went vegan. And I would be with him like 1 or 2 weeks in a time, every 3-4 months, and I would be with him. And it's just amazing how vegan food is, and it's just saving the planet. Not eating cows. So this farm is a health and wellness place in the Philippines, and it's known worldwide now. People go there for to do cleansing and detox, and I've been there several times, and it's just amazing how they do it. Something like this reminds me of, I used to go to a place 20 years ago in Hua Hin in Thailand. Or more than 20 years, 25 years ago. And they have a place called Shivasom. And for me, it's like Le Prairie from Switzerland. And after that, in Asia, the number one place for me was like Shivasom. It was always Shivasom. So the Philippines now has this farm that does practices, food practices, sustainability practices that are amazing. So I'll go to the next slide. This is an island that I completed recently. My management company, this was a 10-year in the making. Most Aman hotels around the world of Adrian Zeka take about 8 to 10 years to build because it's all about sustainability and it's all about the best service. And so Banwa took us 10 years, and we finished it recently, right before COVID, and now it's reopened recently, and people have been enjoying the island recently. And so the practices that we've done in this island is amazing. This is in the middle of the ocean. We went on a deep well. We dug under the ocean, 600 feet. We got into the floor of the ocean, and we dig under the ocean. And apparently, we didn't know that there is a a river under the ocean. And so we got fresh water there. Before, we were using desal plants. We were using RO, reverse osmosis, for our water. But now it's fresh water from under the ocean, and it's piped into to the shower. So you can just drink the water off the shower. It's fresh water. It's amazing. We just did a treatment, a bacteria treatment, a RV treatment just to kill the bacteria. But the water is all fresh from under the ocean. We buy, before we used to buy like cherry tomatoes from Japan and scallops from Australia. Everything was flown in from all around the world. But you know what? What we did is we made sure that we started the organic farms and the animals and the poultries and all that. We started doing the organic farms. So the plants for the fruits and vegetables, they're all organic, and the honey from the bees and all. And so we started it. And so now it's fully sustainable, and the island has all these fresh fruits and vegetables and everything. And so this is a project that was done by Manyosa, who did the Amanpulo, the famed Amanpulo in Palawan, and they're both in Palawan. Actually, the owner of this used to go to Amanpulo for 28 years. Every year he used to go there, and he got so jealous about how beautiful the island was. So he decided to do his own. And so I was fortunate to help him. And the practices that we do in this island are all amazing. We do not have any single plastic, not one piece of plastic in the entire island. It's all bottles. We have a bottling plant from EcoPure. EcoPure does the bottling plant. And so everything is sustainable from when we get it. We make sure the fishermen do a proper fishing, the practices by line fishing and not by the nets with the small holes, and they capture everything. So from the fishing to when it comes to us, the preparation all the way until the waste is discarded, the full cycle is done very, very well. And so that's what we're doing for this island. I'll go to the next slide. You know, this place for the Indonesians, if there are Indonesians here, they're going, yay! But for all the other nationalities that doesn't know Nihi Sumba, I mean, I just have to tell you, I was with the owner in Indonesia 2 years ago, and we were talking, and he was telling me all about Nihi Sumba. And if you Google it, I mean, I don't know now, but for the longest time, I mean, it was #1 in the whole TripAdvisor in the world. I mean, how do you become #1 in the entire world? But this is a place that's fully sustainable, and the practices that they do is amazing. I mean, people like David Beckham go down there every year and ride the horses and swim with the horses. But what I wanted to talk about here that makes it #1 in the world is it's how they take care of the community, the foundation work that they do. And all the people serving in this island, in this resort, are people from the island. And they're so good because they started a school, a hotel school for these students, and they learn. And not just they do Nihi Sumba, they even go to other places in Indonesia, other countries. They become very, very good. And these are people who are less privileged, and they get to learn. That's because of the owner. I mean, the owner just trains them very, very well. But the sustainability practices that they do in this island reminds me of the banwa that I'm doing. But this Nihi Sumba is just an amazing place. And so maybe you can just research, and I wish I had 2-3 hours. I can talk about the individual service, the individual food that they put and all that, but I only have 15-20 minutes. So maybe I go to the next slide. Before I start this, for giving my takeaways for the students, for the people graduating, the people who are in college, everything is now experiential. Just recently, like 3 years ago, when I attended the biggest conference for hotels called the HiCap in Singapore and in Hong Kong, the HiCap conference. And these are best. They're better than, for me, it's better than all the other conferences. And the word that they were using in 2018, 2019 was, for the next 10 years, it's experiential. So people, if you want to be successful in the hotel industry, restaurant industry, you have to sell special moments. You have to remember that a lot of people going to these top restaurants or to hotels and resorts they're cash rich and time poor. They're very rich. And when they go with their family, they have no time. So they want to make sure it's the best moments. So it's like, I don't know if you ever watched the Soul, the movie from Disney, Soul. I mean, people wanted to do this and they wanted their dreams, and their dreams weren't achieved, and they're so sad. But really the point of the movie was like, appreciate the small moments with your family, and all these small moments. That's what life is about. It's not about like, I want to be the best chef, beat Gordon Ramsay, I want to be a billionaire and all that. I mean, if it happens, it happens. But it doesn't, it's okay. Just remember those special moments. And that's what we do in the hotel industry and the restaurant industry. We create special moments. And it's not what, you have to remember, it's not, it's like what Maya Angelou always says. It's not what you do for people. It's not what you do. They'll never remember what you do for them. They'll never remember what you say to them, okay? But they will always remember how you make them feel. So if you make them feel like royalty, like king, you do it once, they'll always come back and you don't have to do it again. So always remember that. It's the special moments and it's what you do for them. So I just wanted to, before I leave, I just wanted to tell you about some takeaways, because The reason why I'm telling you is because I went to school in Switzerland, and after I was fortunate to work in the first 6-star hotel in the world, the Grand Hyatt, learned a lot of things, but nobody told me how to be successful. Nobody. And so I'm just going to tell you today really quick in 3 minutes how to be successful is because I see these people. I've dealt with Bill Gates. I've dealt with the Sultan of Brunei. I dealt with the biggest people, presidents and royalties and celebrities. And one of the top celebrities in the world now is a good friend of mine. I travel with him around. He's the godfather of my daughter. And so I'm very grateful for this business. This business, my father died 11 years ago. He didn't leave me a single cent. But at least he gave me an education, and I worked hard. And so these are takeaways that for you to be successful. And I see it. I'm with all these people, and I have lunch with, a famous boxer from the Philippines, Manny Pacquiao, always. And I see these people, the richest man of the Philippines. I'm with him. Some of my clients are the richest people from the Philippines or around the world. And I see how they are and what do they do? And a lot of them, they take care of people. They take care of the community. Where their hotels are, they take care of the communities. They start up foundation work, and they help out the students and schools and educations and money and all of that. It's a whole process, but that's why these people are successful. But number one is what I see is these people work hard and discipline. They work they work Saturdays, Sundays. They work on holidays. They call me on a Sunday, 7 a.m. for a meeting. That's how they are. And that's why they become very successful. They have a lot of passion with grit. The reason why I say grit is because some people are passionate today in their food, and next year they're not passionate. They lose 1 star from 3-star Michelin to 2, and they kill themselves, or they have no more passion. Or, some people, they're with their husband after 10 years or wife after 10 years, they're not happy anymore. I mean, you have to have passion with grit, with sustainable passion always. Do it and love it. I'm one of the only people in the Philippines who's a sucker. Maybe I stick to this business that's very hard. When everybody's celebrating Christmas and vacations and New Year's and all of that, I'm working hard during when everybody's celebrating and enjoying. So I've been doing it for 30 years and my whole life, even with my parents when I was young. So, but it's passion and grit, positive attitude. And I always tell all my employees, I have 21 hotels I run in the Philippines with 2,000 employees. And I always tell all the staff and all the people, everything's a yes. Please, you have to have positive attitude. Everything's a yes. And the only no I want to hear is no problem. Everything yes. And so positive attitude, you know why? I've seen people who are negative and positive. My father, who's European, and he's always negative. He goes, we're going to go down to this road in the Philippines. It's always going to be traffic. And it's going to be traffic. And it's traffic. And he goes, we're going to go to the restaurant. The beer is not going to be sub-zero. It's not going to be cold. It's not cold. And, we're going to fly the plane. It's going to be late. And it is late because he's negative. But my mother, who is always positive, we go down to the same road and it's not traffic. There's no traffic. We go and she orders a beer in the restaurant and it's cold. We fly the plane and it's on time. So if you want to be negative, negativity will go to you. But positive, you be positive, you will be successful. And trust, believe you me, all of you right now, you'll be successful. You'll all be the top chefs, the next GMs of hotels, the presidents. You'll be in politics. You'll be all very, very successful. You'll be more successful 10 times more than me. You guys, definitely. Number 4, humility. Always remember where you came from. Always have your feet on the ground. So humility. Brains is very important. I was never smart, so I hire people who are super smart, people who are dean's listers, summa cum laudes, salutatorians. I hire people who are so smart, and it's amazing. They are just different. Their motor skills are just different. So please always learn and do good in school. And integrity, your parents gave you a good name, so keep the integrity. 7, use your networking and your connections. Very, very important to always have your connections when you meet people. 8 is grooming. You have to look good. I always say, you look good, you'll feel good, and you'll be good, right? And if you look bad, you will feel bad and you'll do bad things. And so grooming is important. Helping people, as we all know, you have to help people. Number 10, empathy. you have to empathize with everybody. And last but not least, the most important, you do all 10. I've seen it with people who are successful. You do all 10, you'll be successful. But the most important, but above all, I always say, you do it for God, and you do it for Him, and you will be successful. He'll make you successful. And they gave me times up, and so maybe in the Q&As, people can ask me other questions, but I just wanted to give you a brief about Culinary and what's going on. And always remember to keep it clean, simple, and good. And I've seen it from Alan Ducasse and the top people. So that's all I want to say. And thank you so much for having me, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you very much. It's a very inspiring presentation there. And indeed, hospitality and food service industry is not easy. It requires a lot of greed. It requires a lot of passion. And certainly having sustainability requirements put on us makes things even more difficult than it already is. So I believe all the pointers that you have just shared are very useful ones that a lot of members in our audience would find very inspiring. Next, we have, my pleasure. Next, we have Chef Christopher Wan. Chef Wan is Deputy Dean for the Faculty of Hospitality and Tourism at UCSI University, Sarawak campus. He is also currently the Resident Manager for UCSI Hotel Coaching Sarawak. Chef Wan has rich F&B experience working in international hotels and F&B outlets. In addition, Chef Wan is an award-winning chef. Not only has he bagged several awards from one of the most prestigious cooking competitions in Malaysia, Chef Wan has also mentored a number of students in culinary cooking competitions, and his students have emerged victorious. Chef Wan has also been featured in various TV shows and hosted his own cooking show in Malaysia. Chef Wan, the floor is yours.
Hi. Thank you, Karen, for the introduction. A very good virtual morning from Malaysia to everyone who are in this particular session today. So I would like to thank the organizing committee to invite myself to speak, and also to share my view in regard towards the perspective of culinary arts and how we can work together to achieve hearty culinary arts ecosystem. So for today, I'll be speaking on hearty culinary ecosystem. And the main objective of this hearty culinary ecosystem is basically to achieve and also to enhance sustainable food. So for better understanding, let us understand first what is sustainable food is all about. Can you go next slide, please? All right. So in regards to sustainable food, it has captured the attention of members of the community since 1970s. So this is mainly due to the increase of the public awareness about the environment issues that has shown a great impact towards the global economy. So a section of members of the society have realized that the health of the planets and of the peoples are dependent on the innovation that will save the environment for the sake of the present and also the future generation. Next slide. So, all right, so furthermore, for sustainable food has its root in the current liberal climates of the time and in the back of nature movements such as slow food or farm to fork movement, which such movement has stressed the vitality of integrity of food derived from natural agriculture system in locality, which following the season. And of course, the committee of groups of the societies that following this lifestyle were aware of the necessity of to protect nature and also issues of animal welfare, which has together sparked the establishment of such progressive movement of the healthy lifestyle. All right, next slide. So in layman terms, next slide, please. All right, in layman terms, and to better simplify understanding what is sustainable food is actually sustainable food can be elaborated as the combination of healthy food and healthy planets. So in other words, the combination of these as well will lead towards healthy culinary ecosystem. So we will go through this one in much more deeper to understand what is healthy culinary ecosystem is all about. So next slides, please. So in order for us to achieve healthy culinary ecosystem, we have to ask ourselves these questions. What are we eating? And how this food has been produced, where are they from, and what are the health benefits of these foods? So upon being able to answer this question, then we'll be able to achieve the hearty culinary ecosystem and also to enhance energy efficiency and also food sustainability. Next slide, please. All right, so within the circle of hearty culinary ecosystems, there are three important stakeholders that determine the success and the effectiveness of the ecosystem, right? The three stakeholders are the chef or the owner itself, which responsible for the planning, preparation, and also execution, and followed by the supplier, which are responsible of reducing the carbon emission and also greenhouse effects towards the environment. And lastly, the client itself, which are the gatekeeper to ensure the success of the ecosystem. So these three stakeholders require to work collaboratively and also synergistically to play each of their role in order to ensure the effectiveness of this ecosystem. Next slide, please. So let us zoom into the first stakeholder, which is the chef and owner. All right, so their responsibility are to create menus to attract consumers to purchase a product which are healthy and also locally sourced ingredients. So as been mentioned by Bobby sharing earlier on, it is important to keep it simple but attractive for sure. So for example, through producing fusion sort of menu or following the latest hipster trend where it could attract the younger generation to purchase and consume those products. So this will actually increase the level of acceptance towards sustainable food and also increase the desire to consume those products. So with that, it will increase the demand of the locally sourced product and directly impact towards the increase of supply as well. Next slide, please. So second responsibility of the chef or owner itself is actually to maximize the uses of local and also seasonal ingredients in the menu construction. So as through the usage of local and also seasonal ingredients, these will reflect towards the freshness and also to showcase the level of food quality to the consumer. So, and furthermore, it will reduce the carbon emission through supply transportation, as through using imported ingredients in the menu or in our cooking process, it will actually reduce the effect of food miles as each miles that the car travel or aeroplanes or cargo or ship that travel to deliver our ingredients from one country to another, it will actually increase the carbon footprints and increase the amount of energy being used, for example, fuel throughout the process. So for example, if you can see in this photo itself, we have several local ingredients that are very well known in Sarawak or in Malaysia itself, in which are very authentic and also seasonal, such as the wild fern. It have almost similar texture as asparagus and so on. It's a great for stir salad or stir fry, have similar very earthy kind of texture. And we have durian, which is known as the king of durian. Some people might doesn't like the smell and also the taste, but you know, if we can be creative yourself, we can make up durian. For example, we can transform the durian into cheesecake or mousse out of these fruits. And of course, the terong dayak, or known as the sour eggplant, is very well known in Sarawak in Malaysia. A very suitable ingredient for fish soup, or just puree it up with a bit of garlic, with a bit of onion to make a sauce for your seafood, and it blends really well. And of course, dabai, which is known as a Borneo black olive as well, a creamy and also nutty flavor, which provides suitable for snacks, salad, or even transform into a sweet, salty dabai mousse. So as a chef, we should not limit our creativity to what we know and see. So we have to be experimental to develop a new menu which provide essential benefits for the ecosystem, and of course to earn more money and cent, which is very important in order for us to survive in the industry. So next slide, please. All right, so to move forwards, another responsibility for the chef and owner is actually, as one of stakeholders, is to focus on practical and also simplify the cooking and also preparation process, in which we take into account of the energy efficiency and also sustainable food. So in the aspect of food, chefs are required to minimize food wastage in order to maximize food yield. So, and in the scope of energy, the chefs are required to minimize the usage of energy consumption and upon preparing food items such as water, electricity, and gas. Next slide. So in terms of food, it is important for the chef to be able to think creatively to maximize the capacity of the ingredient usage, all right? For example, to use the vegetable trimming, meat trimming, and bone to make a stock, or as a chef itself, it's important to minimal the amount of waste trimming and to maximize the food yield, because of course we want to increase the productivity, also revenue generated from each ingredient. So these will definitely will require constant training in order to achieve such skill. So in order for us to achieve this, guided learning from experienced individual to novice will do the magic. So this will actually is a supporting system where we can learn from each other. And of course, proper storing to prevent spoilage. This is actually to reduce food wastage, which incurred costs. And of course, reuse food and to reduce wastage. So creative menu cycle to reduce the amount of wastage to occur. For example, what we can do, we can use our leftover curry that we do a day before, whatever not, to do chicken curry pie or vegetable trimming, whatever vegetable trimmings that we have, we will use it to make our cream vegetable soups, or cook rice to porridge, or stir fry cauliflower to gratinate cauliflower, baked chicken to chicken slider, roasted vegetables to assorted vegetables salads. It's all up to the chef and the person who prepare to be creative and not to be just stay in a box. We have to be creative in order for us to recycle or reuse all the food item to reduce wastages. So next slide, please. So in the aspect of energy, as a chef, it is important to be sensible and also practical in cooking to maximize or to minimize the usage of energy sources. For example, in order for us to reduce the energy consumption, what we can do is actually to defrost item in a chiller rather than, you know, putting under the flowing water. So with this, actually, if we defrost a frozen item in a chiller, it will reduce the water consumption for thawing process. And maybe to avoid opening the oven frequently upon usage, right? This will actually reduce the usage of electricity to heat up the oven. And of course, to use microwave to heat up an item, smaller item, rather than to use your wok or your gas or whatever not. So this will actually reduce the gas for heating processes. And of course, cook by batch or cut the item into smaller for cooking, quicker cooking process. Because, you know, by cutting it becomes smaller, it will actually reduce the time frame for cooking an item. So this will reduce the amount of gas to use. So as a chef and a fellow cooks, it is important to take notes on all these points. They are very vital in order to be able to contribute towards healthy culinary ecosystem, which leads to a sustainable ecosystem and also foods. Next slide. Next, all right. So now let us zoom into the next important stakeholder, which is the supplier. Right, to achieve healthy ecosystem, it is important for the respective supplier to support local farmer to purchase their product, which, you know, emphasize on ingredient freshness and also showcase the quality. So to build a positive rapport between supplier and local farmer, fair trade deal are required to be established, which we provide a win-win scenario to both parties through the offering of good price and also good product. So with this sort of engagement that has been established, this will surely increase the community living status. And of course, next is on reduce the plastic usage, right? Supplier, of course, it is recommended for them to implement basket system upon delivering clients' product goods or whatever they have been ordered or purchased. So what is bucket system? Actually, bucket system simply means to use a basket or box to store all the ingredients that has been purchased straight right from the farm or from the market, whatever not, rather than using a plastic bag. So this will actually reduce the amount of plastic that has been used as well. And the other point is that as a supplier, it is important to reduce the amount of selling or promoting imported ingredients, right? Because as majority of the imported ingredients have used a lot of fancy kind of plastic or packaging to attract buyer. That are the main key point of all this packaging. So however, at the end of the day, those plastic will not be used, but instead will be just discarded. So it is better to reduce the amount of plastic usage for the sustainability of the environment. That is very, very important. So in addition, through supporting local-based product, especially from the local farmer, this will actually to reduce the carbon footprint, and it will reduce the food miles effect where less energy will be used to transport more ingredients to the clients. All right, next slide, please. All right, so lastly, the most important stakeholders are the client, which will receive the end product. So they are the one who are the decision maker that determine the success of this movement. So if majority of the community accepts such movement, this will actually increase the demand of healthy and also sustainable food, where with this, it will lead to the possibilities of achieving healthy ecosystems. All right, next slides. So let's look on the benefit of healthy ecosystems. Okay, of course, the first benefit that we will gain from this sort of ecosystem is towards reducing the impact of food waste. So serious environmental impact can be caused by disposing of excessive food waste. For example, it will affect towards the landfill impacts on the flora and fauna, incinerations or impacts towards the air quality, and also waste create more waste of energy. Next slide, please. So for this case, let us look the impacts towards food waste, especially in Malaysia context. So in Malaysia context-wise, Malaysians solid waste content a very high organic waste and consequently high moisture content and bulk density of about 2,000 kilograms per meter square feet. So in recent study conducted in Kuala Lumpur as well have revealed that the amount of organic waste for resident area range from 62 to 72%, which is very, very high. So disposal of solid waste is done most solely through landfill method. So there are about 177 disposal sites across Peninsular Malaysia. So in most cases, open dumping is being practiced and take place about 50% of the total landfill, in which this is not a healthy practice for our Mother Earth. Right? So through responsible stakeholder, food waste may be prevented and reduced for the benefit of harmony of the ecosystem. So next slide, please. So next benefit is in regards towards healthy food produced. So to creative food creation based on local and also seasonal ingredients, it will actually boost the health status of the respective community, aids to reduce the rates of the obesity, especially in the city and also area community. It will increase the community productivity due to hearty health and also reduce the rate of malnutrition of all levels of community. Next slide, please. And lastly, last but not least, this is this sort of ecosystem will definitely give back to the nature, where you provide healthy, also greener environment. So through such act, it will lead to a reduction of pollution such as air, water, land, also noise pollution. And with this reduction of pollution, it will preserve the beauty of the flora and fauna for sure. And of course, will lead towards the main objective, which is to sustain food resource for all community level. Next slide. And it is important for us to be, of course, next slide, please. All right, so it's important for us to be part of this movement and let us play our role within our capacity for the benefit or present of the future generation. So that's all for me, and thank you for listening. Back to you, Karen.
Thank you very much, Chef Wan. Very clearly, you have had a lot of experience working in kitchens and managing a food business. So thank you very much for sharing all your insights with us. Next, we would like to invite Madam Shinta Taviningrum, Lecturer and Secretary of the Tourism Study Program at Gunadarma University, Indonesia. Madam Shinta is also the chairperson and co-founder of the Indonesia Culinary Academy. Recognizing the important roles of food, be it overall health and wellness or in establishing a national identity, Madam Shinta is actively involved in documenting and preserving traditional Indonesia culinary delights. Madam Shinta is also a member of the team responsible for developing culinary tourism and shopping packages for the Ministry of Tourism, Indonesia. She has also assisted the ministry in curating potential spots for culinary and shopping tourism and provided advice on community economic activities. Madam Shinta, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Hello, everybody. I'm Shinta from Jakarta, Indonesia, and I'm glad to be here, and it is also an honor for me to share my presentation in this forum. Karen, should I share the presentation or you?
Yes, please. Are you able to share screen?
Okay. But before, I'd like to thank Bobby Horingan for mentioning Nihisumba, as a great place to visit.
My pleasure, Madam. My pleasure.
How is it now?
Perfect.
Can you see my presentation? Okay. This time, I'd like to give a presentation with topic soto. Soto is traditional food from Indonesia. The title is The Reflection of Local Wisdom. Okay. My presentation is structured from the 3 subtopics. The first topic is about soto itself. What is soto mean? And then the second topic is subtopics about soto Lamongan, one of Indonesian sotos. And finally, the last subtopics is about soto and its relation with culinary tourism. Okay. This is the background. This is the background why I choose soto. Yeah. The first reason, because Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy of Indonesia has set soto as one of the favorite foods in Indonesia besides rendang, fried rice, satay, gado-gado. And the settle is in 2018, I think. Yeah. Besides, actually, Indonesia has so many kinds of soto. It varies from the clear to thick soup, from chicken to beef, even shrimp soto, and it is estimated about 50 kinds of soto, but some institution even claims that the number can be more than that, even more than 100 variants of soto. How could that be? We will know it later. Okay, and this is the variant of soto here. Yeah, from the picture in the slide, we can see several kinds of soto. This one, soto Betawi, the previous previous slide, with ingredients from beef and coconut milk. Then we also have soto Banjar with chicken meat, and soto Makassar with that's suggested to be enjoyed with rice cake. These are some of very popular soto in Indonesia. Yeah, you can see it here. Soto Medan, soto Padang, soto Betawi, soto Bandung, soto Selang Semarang, soto Ayam Semarang, tauco Pekalongan, soto Kudus, and so on. Yeah, we can see here that even in a city like Semarang can have more than one kind of soto. So it can be understood why Indonesia has so many sotos. The picture in this slide represents tauco from Kalongan, Central Java, with its radish soup, which comes from Chile, and also tauco. So they not call it as soto, but tauco because it's soto with tauco. And tauco itself is actually a fermented soybean. This is the influence of Chinese dishes. And these are why we have soto. There are several assumptions about the origin of soto. First assumption is that soto derived from the word jiaodu. In Chinese, they pronounce it as jiaotou, a kind of dish of China. That brought to Indonesia in conjunction with Zheng He cruise around in Asia with for his trade mission. And the source of this information, I take it from Dennis Lombard's book entitled Nusa Java Silang Budaya. But the other assumption is that soto comes from the word soti from India. Soti is a kind of curry dishes with coconut milk. So I can explain that soto actually is a soup-like dish which composed from broth, meat, and vegetable. But soto has differences with soup. The difference is on the spices. Soto uses shallot, garlic, turmeric, galangal, ginger, lemongrass, bay leaves, coriander, salt, candle nut, and pepper. Even certain ingredients can be added to the specific taste and flavor, like tauco, roasted soybean, or roasted coconut. Some soto add alternatively ingredients include rice vermicelli, mung bean sprout, cabbage, fried shallot or garlic, scallions, tomato, or fried potatoes. Soto served warm or hot with rice or rice cake, extra condiment like sambal, squeeze of lime, sweet sauce or ketchup, and crackers. Additional side dishes sometimes provided like perkedel, fried potato, mashed patties, fried tempeh or tofu, chicken satay, and clam satay. I conducted a simple research to find what are the most popular soto in Indonesia. And the result is like this. The first is soto Lamongan, next soto Kudus, soto Betawi, soto Makassar, and the last popular is soto Padang from the five most popular sotos. Based on the result, I make another research about soto Lamongan. These are the result why soto Lamongan will become the preference for the local people. First, it is easy to find. That means the vendors are everywhere. They exist in almost every big city in Indonesia. The second reason is the taste. This fresh, savory, thick sauce, filling, and complete texture. And the third one is the price, which is very affordable. It's about 15,000 rupiah per portion. And the last, using chicken. Chicken is the most widely accepted compared to beef, offal, or goat. And this is the Lamongan. This is the one and only city that dare to claim the city as the city of soto. Lamongan is a small city at the north part of East Java province, and they have so many soto stalls. It is too many for, I think, for a small city like Lamongan. And this is the spread of soto Lamongan vendor in Indonesia, but not only in Indonesia. Actually, soto Lamongan also reached Singapore and Kuala Lumpur. This is the ingredients of soto Lamongan. It develops from, it has main ingredients, yeah, spices, and condiment. We can see here for the main ingredients, they use rooster, milkfish. I'll explain it later. This is why they use the milkfish and roaster. As I have said before, soto is made from so many ingredients, developed from a lot of spices and served with some condiment. So that's why local people in Lamongan, if somebody gets ill, he will suggest to eat soto because of soto is seen or act as a tonic or believed has a curing potent. In the origin, soto Lamongan use rooster and milkfish as the ingredients for the broth because rooster has some advantages. Rooster has less fat, lots of meat, tasty, tough enough to be boiled for a long time to extract the broth. While milkfish, after you remove the head, you boil the fish separately, then take the extract. Milkfish itself has 55% of protein, saturated fat, and give savory taste. So that's why soto Lamongan very rich of protein from the rooster, milkfish, and boiled chicken egg. Okay. And this is the condiment. Yeah. They have koya or crackers powder. The powder it is made from the crackers, brown garlic. The koya itself acts as a texture builder, thicker the soup, and give an extra fragrance because of the fried garlic. It also gives extra savory taste, while sambal, which is made from chili and in the form of liquid, contains vitamin C and in limited quantities can warm the body and increase appetite. Besides, we also add squeeze of lime, which contain vitamin C and develop a fresh sour of taste, aromatic, but the taste itself from the lime is not strong or pungent. This is from the research that the nutritional content proportion of soto, they will bring you about 400 something calorie per portion. It has protein, fat, carbohydrate, and also fiber. Wait a minute. So we can see there that soto has a very complete nutrition. Moreover, if we add rice and another side dish, it will supply more than, of course, 550 kilocalorie per portion. So it needs our need of energy to do our daily activities. Now, this one is the presentation of card. This is the card that usually used by the soto vendor, and most of soto use non-permanent outlet, or we call it in Indonesia as warung. And this should be our concern if we talk about traditional food that mostly provided as a street food. This is the card about street food. I think if we want to provide soto or other traditional food to be promoted as a part of culinary tourism, then we should give more attention about sanitation and hygiene. It covers from the safety and quality of the raw material. Also important is the processing of the food. Are they follow the safety standard at minimum level at least? And the influence of the environment about how about the air pollution, the water supplies, and also how about the water disposal and trash management. This can also create a big problem if street food vendor or small food business, they don't have any information or abilities to fulfill those criteria. I think this is also been provided by Christopher, Karen, right? About the importance of safety, sanitation, and
that's right.
Healthy. Okay. And the last slide, I'd like to point out about the culinary tourism. Sorry. Please use the ingredients that comes around. The food that make from material around can also be the special characters of the local dishes. And then develop local food that give advantage to health. Follow the balanced diet criteria that already been launched by WHO. Develop food that avoid danger for the tourists. Salmonella, for example, can be found in food that were not well cooked. So we must assure that the food is safe for tourists. And then develop narrative or narration that can be developed in the form of tagline about history, nutrition, and how about to enjoy the soto in this case, or the food, the dishes in general. So this means that experience that has an important role for the tourists can be achieved through this narration. By giving the narration about everything about the dishes, tourists will have a deeper and fast experience about food and culture during their visit. And the next point is further research is needed to instant soto include the dried vegetables and other condiments to popularize the soto. This is a kind of promotion action to let people know our dishes before they come to our country. And the last, we need support from government, business institution, and communities to make the local dishes. I think that's from me, and I back to Karen. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you very much, Madam Shinta. I don't know about the rest of the audience, but after Madam Shinta's presentation, I'm really craving a bowl of soto right now. So that would be really lovely if I can get it here.
Please. Yes, please, Karen. Please come to Indonesia and I'll treat you with soto.
Thank you. I lived in Indonesia for close to a year. I worked in Jakarta for close to a year, and I simply loved the food there. So it was a very pleasant 1 year for me.
Okay.
Thank you very much for the presentations from all our three presenters. And before I head to our next section on Q&A, I would like to remind members of the audience that, if you have any questions, whether it's for one or all of our presenters, feel free to post them in the chat box. Let me start with one of my questions here first. Okay, so across all three presentations this morning here, whether it is Mr. Horingan's or whether it's Chef Wan's or whether it's Madam Shinta's presentation, there is a great emphasis on sourcing locally, on using local resources to try to achieve sustainable development. Okay, so and perhaps Madam Shinta's presentation emphasized this point a little bit more than others. By sourcing locally, you can also encourage tourists to eat, to try to consume authentic local experiences as well. My question to our three presenters here is, a lot of tourists, they are eager to try out local authentic experiences. But here's the big but. At the same time, there's also that huge chunk of tourists who want the comforts of home. They travel to somewhere exotic, but yet they still want their hamburgers. They still want their steaks, or they still want their, stir fries. So how do you try to encourage this group of tourists who try to seek familiarity of home? How do you try to encourage them to eat sustainably and yet, enjoy their holiday?
So may I answer first?
Please.
I think one of the ways to encourage sustainable eating among tourists is to prepare something which is closer to their heart, because each of community or tourists come from all around the world. They have their own comfort food, and of course, or they have their common food that could be be food that is available any part of the world. For example, we have pasta. Pasta, if you talk about pasta, it could be everywhere around the world. It can be in Indonesia, it can be in Malaysia, Philippines. Everyone knows pasta. So it is considered as a common food. So in order to us to encourage sustainable eating, we can integrate the basis, their comfort food with our local ingredient. So we are introducing a new item to them, but in a way making them not to be anxious and also in dilemma or phobia to try the new things that we are trying to portray to them. So therefore we reduce the level of phobia of trying out the new food, because the food that have been prepared are common, and with this it will reduce the anxiety, of course, of trying the food. Hence, it would indirectly, of course, we encourage tourists to be more sustainable of trying new products or new foods that we are trying to implement. Yeah, that's my take on it.
Well, for me is, the country sometimes needs to have ambassadors, culinary ambassadors. And, in the Philippines, we had this one person who we love, and I'm sure Chef Wan will agree with me, but Anthony Bourdain he was a great person. And he would go all around the world, and including even Gordon Ramsay would try cuisines from Malaysia. I don't know if Chef Wan watched that one when he was in Malaysia cooking the curries and all that. And he would even do a challenge in England, right? Challenging everyone for curries. But you get people to talk about your cuisine. Like Anthony Bourdain, I remember he came to the Philippines and he went to a fast food restaurant called Jollibee. And believe it or not, Jollibee is opening all around the world. They open in London, they open in England, 2 outlets. They sold 4,000 chicken joys because they have a very nice fried chicken and people are saying it's very, very good. But people like Anthony Bourdain was the one that lifted the Philippines Jollibee to the next level. But it's all about that. It's getting ambassadors and people to talk about your food. And in your menus, whether you're in the hotels or restaurants, you have to have local dishes. And like in the Philippines, we have adobo, we have lechon. So you need to post it so people will get to try. And I understand that people like Koreans, when they go to the US or something, they just eat Korean food. They don't eat anything else. So you have to educate them whether to eat Malaysian food, Indonesian, Philippine food. So you need ambassadors to spread the word. But the Philippines, some people have a hard time knowing Filipino food because we're not as in the level of Thailand or Malaysia. Malaysian food is so known, or Thai food, or even Indonesian. Philippines, we're slowly catching up, slowly. Thank you.
Okay, I agree with Bobby and Christopher Wan, and I do like your dishes, Bobby, but I haven't tried your balut. It's still
See that?
it's difficult.
Yes. It's
yes,
difficult.
It's still difficult for me to swallow the duck and the duckling. Yes. But Christopher, I like your nasi lemak. I miss it so much because of COVID. I cannot go there for the nasi lemak. And Karen, I like your chili crab, also the carrot cake. I miss it. I agree. Yeah. Okay, Bobby, I agree with you. We need ambassador. And also with one where we should adjust. We mix their comfort food with our local food. But in my opinion, we also need to introduce slowly to the tourists. Perhaps like soto, if for local people, they serve it in a big bowl. Then for tourists, we should perhaps serve it in a quite small bowl so that they can try. Is it okay for them? And also perhaps we can teach them how to enjoy the food. If rendang is too spicy for them, then we can make the less hot rendang for the tourists. So at least they can try a little so that they don't miss the experience visiting our country. That's in my opinion, Karen. Thank you.
Thank you. I think those are very great ideas. Definitely not ideas that I would have thought of. In relation to the examples that were actually given in your answers as well as your presentations, I noted that actually quite a few of them tended to be on the higher end side. Like, for instance, Bawang Private Island. That is a very high-end resort product. So, my question is, does sustainability come at a price to the consumer? How do you try to balance the two?
You know what we've learned in the Philippines, and I'm sure it's in other countries around the world, including Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, is what we're noticing is people, the travelers, and it's a lot of local tourism now. And the Philippines we were fortunate that that pre-COVID in 2019, we had 113 million domestic tourism, higher than a lot of Asian countries. Our international tourism was not that high. It was only 8.5 million. Other countries like Thailand are doing 30 million, 40 million and all that. But what we noticed in COVID is people are going to exclusive places. People want to go to islands, to resorts that have all villas. They want to eat outside. It's al fresco now. It's not indoors in meeting rooms and all. Now it has changed. COVID has changed the dynamics of how people travel, how they eat. People are eating outside. They want, couples getting married and their honeymoon, they're eating in the beach, in the table on their own. Families are eating outside. So here in the Philippines, one of the biggest families that handles restaurants all around the Philippines is they just opened a new restaurant, which is an hour away from the Philippines, away from Manila, called Tagaytay. It's up in the mountains, and they opened it's called Marketplace, and all the fresh produce, local and organic. So they're teaching the Filipinos how to eat locally, buying local products that's organic, and everything outside, no air condition. So that's what we're seeing. It's changing now in the Philippines. I'm sure other countries as well.
What about the restaurant sector, Chef Wan? What do you think?
So it's actually the same as point has been shared by Bobby earlier on. Okay, nowadays, you can see there's a lot of people are eager to go out. So in the normal norms that we have before COVID or before this pandemic, we always eat in our restaurant, these kind of things. But now, surprisingly, in our hotel as well, we are doing out, I can say dine out. Rather than you are stick in the restaurant, we open it up in a garden or in our sky lounge, these kind of things. And people are really go after that, meaning to say, when we open up in the restaurants outside of our normal norms, which is very back to nature, where we don't use any electricity to run our aircon, whatever, it's all fresh air, this kind of things. See, we have gotten a lot of customer. We are indeed fully booked for all our service, especially in our garden and also on our sky lounge. And this shows that people are start to appreciate sustainable and appreciate all these kind of things. Yeah, I think what Bobby says, I totally agree and concur with whatever he says.
So on the issue of COVID-19, I mean, we all know, how it has actually impacted our industry. And in fact, it has generated a number of hygiene protocols that, such as single-use plastic utensils, as well as different types of cleaning materials, cleaning chemicals. While these protocols, they help to actually stop the spread of the virus, they actually represent setbacks to sustainable efforts by restaurants, by food service providers. Do you think that it will have a lasting impact on tourist behavior? And looking ahead, what do you think food services can do to get tourists to actually focus on sustainable consumption in the aftermath of COVID-19?
That is a very tough question.
I think we still hope that after the COVID, we'll have more rooms to interact with other people, and especially for street food. Street food itself is an attraction in Asia, in Southeast Asia, or at least in Jakarta. According to one of the article I read, most tourists like to enjoy the street food. What do you think, Wan and Bobby? And I think the government should take part and support to provide quite a place for the street food that follows the safety standard, especially after we hope the COVID getting away. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's all about money and cents at the end of the day. The cost of purchasing some sort of economic of energy, electrical compliance might cost slightly higher than the normal items. And the price for the local and also organic product will also be slightly pricey due to the maintenance crops and so on. So there is a few challenges to occur, but however, if all stakeholders, as Madam was saying as well, play their roles accordingly, including of government agency, perhaps giving some sort of subsidiaries to support such movement. If we use, organic and local farming products, they will give us some sort of subsidies. These would definitely be able to boost the sustainable practice without a doubt. And of course, after the map, what happened is that how we can educate people, and of course to make sure that tourists are more focused on sustainable consumption is through education. It is the key to boost sustainable consumption through education. So through constant awareness campaign and education, this will actually build up in-depth understanding of sustainable and also open up their mind to accept the concept of sustainable. So this should be done at all levels, respectively, whoever we are, which level of community that we are in. So then this all we can could be workable in that sense.
You know, in the Philippines, the national government would say something, and they'll say, this is the law that we're going to do in the next 1 year or 2 years. And then the local government units in all the provinces, in all the other areas have to comply. One of them is the single-use plastic. And here in the Philippines, in 2 years, they're going to get rid of single-use plastic. And so you have hotels and restaurants, they're already thinking like, how are we going to put dispensers, you know, and these dispensers, you just can keep them for months. And so all these small plastics are going to be gone. Toothbrushes that are made out of wood and not the plastic ones coming from abroad. So these are practices that they're doing, and you know, I've seen it. The national government would impose like the sewage treatment of all the restaurants and hotels, the water going to the ocean. Before 30 years ago, nobody would care. They would just dump anything out into the ocean. But now they're very, very serious. They have a Dow 2016, 2019, and it's so strict, and every resort has to follow. If not, they'll get penalties and sanctions. It's just like COVID, you know. If you go to one place and then there was somebody that's COVID there through the QR codes, they will phone you, right, and tell you there was a person that was there. You need to be tested within 48 hours. If you're not tested, you cannot work. You cannot travel. So you have to get tested, and the contact tracing is so good. But so the same for sustainability for the country, in terms of for plastic use and all of that. Thank you.
So COVID is a blessing in disguise, right?
It could, you know what? You know what? For us in the hotel business, it's damaging for the next 5 years. For 5 years, it's terrible. But you know, if there was something that we learned here, we learned multitasking. We learned multitasking. We cut on all the departments on manpower. So we learned a lot. And Chef Wan, right?
Yeah, correct. We did.
Yes, definitely. It's kind of like a reset, you know, and the beginning is always painful, horribly painful, right? Right. Okay. So since we are on the topic of COVID-19, I have a question from a member of the audience. Okay, so in considering that we are entering a new norm era, is there any change in strategy, especially the indicators of sustainable tourism development for restaurant, culinary, and hotel sectors?
Yeah, of course, there will be a change in strategy for sure. Especially if you look at the trend now, the company nowadays tend to opt for takeaway service, where the use of food delivery service such as Food Grab, Food Panda is relatively very, very high. So in order for restaurants and other hoteliers to sustain in the business, they should shift the change in the way of food preparation to cater for these new norms. And you know, for this, it is advisable for F&B players to look into, you know, sustainable way to generate income for this as well. And of course, to inculcate the value of sustainable, where maybe we can, as what Bobby was saying, use the amount of plastic that has been used, or maybe we can use disposal takeaway box where, you know, it is very healthy for the environments, or perhaps introduce takeaway with your own takeaway box, meaning to say they bring their own containers to take away this kind of food that they are ordering, which is much more eco-friendly and also safer in order to avoid transmission of all the virus and whatever not. Yeah.
What we're doing for hotels is we're starting in the National Capital Region in Manila, and then we're moving out, going to Cebu and Davao. But we're getting the employees vaccinated. So that's our biggest campaign, and that's the branding of the resorts and the city hotels. It's all about vaccination, and that's the cure. When your staff are vaccinated, that beats Ecolab and Johnson Diversey and all HACCP for the kitchen and all. If your staff are vaccinated and you can tell people, come to our hotel. Our employees are fully vaccinated. They live in-house. They do not go out. And so you're safe here. And so people are like, wow, we will go there. We know it'll be safe. So these are some things that we're starting to do already.
Mm.
Well, I think consumer is more selective choosing their food. I think they want the high nutrition food so that make them keep healthy. So I think that's one of the changes, right, Bobby and Wan? Both the choices,
Right.
yeah.
Yes, people want to be healthy because they know at a certain age, if you're overweight, you have more chances of getting severe COVID compared to a person who's very, very healthy. Yeah, correct. And people are eating healthy, yes.
Definitely. Okay, so I have another question from our audience, and this is a question that is from a member of the audience who's watching us live on Facebook. So the question is, to create a customer experience, is it more important than customer satisfaction? I guess the question is coming from our earlier emphasis on how we can create how we can encourage tourists to consume sustainably. Would anyone like to go first?
Yeah, I think eating through experience is one of the way to increase tourist arrival, because through eating through experience, this is one of the unique ways to encourage sensible eating among tourists. So in order to attract tourists to be on board of sensible eating, so we could conduct series of ethnic cooking or workshop or activities where they can cook their own meals and consume their own food. Of course, in order for us to ask someone to try our ethnic food is not easy because they have all this thinking whether it is safe to consume and so on. But by getting them to prepare their own food and also learn how to do it, this will actually build up their motivation to try their own foods in a way. And of course, when a tourist make up and prepare their own food, it will actually establish high motivation for them to try out their food. And not only that, the tourists will be able to learn how to cook, and the food will also be part of the essential positive travel experience to them. So yeah.
Perfect opportunity for us to showcase our local food, because what's happening in Asia, in the US is a little bit different. They're coming out with packages. You go to the US and you can get vaccinated. Just 2 days ago in Chicago, you go to a Walmart and you can get a free, as long as you go shopping, you can get a free vaccine, Johnson & Johnson, for free in a Walmart. But here in Asia is a little bit different. We're a little bit slower in our vaccination program. But what's happening is if you go to you go to Singapore or you go to Hong Kong, you got to be quarantined for 14 days as an international tourist. So this is perfect time for you to showcase your packed meals to be served in the rooms with local dishes and all of that right now.
Correct.
Yes, in Indonesia, in Jakarta especially, it's also done like that. It's also practiced like that. Visitors have to stay in hotel or in an apartment for at least 2 weeks.
Yes,
yeah,
correct.
So if we want to go to Philippines, to Manila, I have to stay
Quarantine
for
hotel.
a month and 2 weeks quarantine. Right?
I know, that's why I really feel that international travel will be a little bit slower. It'll be 2022 already, not 2021, because are you really going to go to a country for 2 weeks in quarantine? And then when you come back, you have to quarantine another. So 1 month away from your family.
Exactly.
Very hard.
Yep, that's difficult. Well, thank you very much for sharing. And, COVID-19, the pandemic and all these things, all the measures that we have to take, quarantine and all that, it sounds kind of depressing, right? So let us try to end this session on a more positive note. Okay, so in the spirit of learning and sharing, I would like to invite each of our 3 speakers to identify and describe a sustainable practice that you have seen by any food service operator that made you actually go, wow, that's really impressive. I wish I thought of that.
I think for me, it's on the concept of garden to table for sure. I've seen that happening in one of the rural areas in Sarawak itself, because majority of the younger community nowadays have lesser knowledge in terms of culinary arts. For example, the basic knowledge of vegetables, meats, and etc. Even some of our younger generation will not recognize how ginger torch or broccoli look like. So it might sound funny, but it is reality nowadays. So for this garden to table concept is where we link up with the farmer, local farmer, where we could, together with our clients or customer, go and harvest and pluck fresh vegetables, so that we also in a way could educate them. Hey, this is how ginger chop should look like. This is how paprika leaf look like, and so on. And of course, after we do that, these kind of things, we bring them and also teach them how to use and how to cook the ingredients that have been plucked straight away from the garden. So I think with this, it will give them experience and also knowledge on their foods. So through such continuous act, I think it will directly will educate the community to understand on the sustainable ecosystem. Yeah.
I agree. I agree completely with Chef Wan, because I mentioned about this place in Tagaytay, and one of the people who opened this recently are one of the best food and beverage people of the Philippines. They have the best chefs and the best concepts. A company called Raintree, and they opened this marketplace. And these are all local products, and they're trying to tell people, come over, relax outside. It's all open air, right? And it's relax, take it easy and unwind and think about how good life is. And it's all fully sustainable and organic. And so that's my takeaway for everyone is take it easy, because right now is like the millennials and Generation G, they're so eager. They work 5 jobs in 1 year. It's like the Japanese work 1 job in their entire life, right? Now everybody's they want to try everything on the spot. That's because of social media and TikTok, and everybody's so in a hurry. But people who are very, very successful that made the resort industry of this world, people like Adrian Zeka of Amman, and people like Horst Schulze, who started a Ritz-Carlton, and now he has his group called Capella, like in Singapore and there. I mean, these people will tell you, go one step at a time, slowly. So this COVID made us realize, take it easy in life, slow down, and pray to God a bit more. Thank you.
Okay. I like Tagaytay, Bobby. It's a nice place. Yeah.
Yes, Tagaytay, yes.
Just like Bobby and Chef Wan, I'd like to say that food is everybody's business. Everybody needs food. But the first thing, it's sufficient and moderate food. It's sufficient. And then more plants, just like Chef Wan said, more plants, and then follow the balanced diet that give more emphasis on vegetables, grain, and also fruit, and also eat food, the real form of food, not the processed food. That's from me. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Madam Shinta. Thank you, Chef Wan, and thank you, Mr. Horingan. We have come to the end of our workshop. I believe everyone here are very happy with what you have shared, and we have certainly learned a lot. So thank you for your time. And also thank you to everyone here who took the time out to attend our session here. It's been great having you here. And our next session for this conference, which is an expert dialogue on the challenges and prospects of tourism post-COVID-19, starts in about 30 minutes. We certainly hope to see you there, and 30 minutes is definitely more than enough time for you to go for a bowl of soto. So please go enjoy yourselves for 30 minutes before coming back to our conference again. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you for sharing. Doing a good job.
Thank you, Bobby.
Well done.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Chef Wan. Thank you, Madam Shinta.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.